Welcome to the Action Shooting Show. Been a little while. I'm going to try to do just a real quick video here. I'm going to call tips from an RO. And this last Saturday, I was able to RO the Ridge Racer match out in Zanesville, Ohio, Briar Rabbit. And I've shot it in the spring. It's the first time I shot it. And then this year, or this fall, I just came back to RO. And it's a really good time. So I'll just give a real quick, it's a blind match. So every stage, there's not really any stage brief, except, generally run down this path. When you get to a barrel or some kind of indication that's got a sign on it or something, figure out what you need to do there and move on. So, generally may run down, there's a big, 55-gallon drum, and it'll, have a sign and say, 3 targets, 1 hit each. And then you look out from that area, you find 3 targets, you shoot them 1 hit each, you move on to the next one. And maybe the next one is 1 target 3 times from the support off of, this barricade. So, pretty simple sounding, a lot harder in execution. Really got to be on top of it. It's a very, nothing's crazy. There's no real, when I shot it, there's no real super crazy, difficult shots, like massively small targets or anything. Couple really challenging barricades. But I'd say it's all very doable. You need to have the skill to do them. So, I worked the long range stage, stage orange, and what I want to do is just describe the stage, and then I'm going to share some things that I saw people do as an RO, and maybe ways that they could improve it. And this was all stuff I saw multiple people do, so not just one. So if you're listening to this and you go, well, he's calling me out. Nope. All this stuff happened plenty of times, and I've seen it at plenty of other matches. So chances are you're going to run into this in a match. Maybe this will help you be better prepared for it. So the ROs kind of started down the hill, and this first part was pistol only and off the clock, and you start at the top of the hill, the RO yelled go, you kind of ran 50, 75 yards maybe, got to a big port, and you look through there, and you'd look for a sign, there was a number 1, within 20 yards of that was going to be your number 1 target. So you shot that once, moved to the second one, shot that, move to the third window, look for the 3, find that target, shoot that. Holster, run further down the hill, and then once you got down the hill and to the rifle position, we beeped you in. The rifle part was 180 seconds, and you had a big spool, 3 foot high, massive spool, a shorter hedgehog, tank trap, whatever you want to call them, and then the last one was an aluminum ladder, like a 6-foot ladder. So you could use any of those. You were allowed to move the ladder where you wanted. The other 2 were stationary. And you had 5 targets out there, number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And you had to find them, range them if you need to, and engage them. The way this match works is every hit is a point. Every miss is a deduction of points. I believe, I don't know about the long range, but generally it's 5 points for a hit, -1 for a miss. So if you miss 5 times and you hit it, you kind of it's a wash. If you miss 5 times and you just skip it and go on, it's a -10. So it's hit factor scoring, like USPSA, which is a really interesting way to do it. But it pays to be accurate, which I would say is in general with a gun, it pays to be accurate. So kind of starting with pistol, the first thing I saw, and this is really one of the few things pistol, first thing I saw was a lot of people would go down and shoot the first one, and then there was maybe a 20-yard run to the next target, maybe a little bit further than that. They'd shoot that one target, they'd holster up, they'd run to the next one, then they'd pull it out, and they'd shoot that, and then they'd kind of step over and shoot the next one, then holster up and go down. If you're shooting pistol and you have more pistol, I don't see a lot of reason to holster. If there's some safety reason that you think you should holster, fine, do what's safest. I'm not telling someone not to do that. But if you have a functioning gun, you're not worried about falling down, like this it was very dry, it wasn't that much of an incline, it was a pretty flat, easy run. Keep the gun down, keep it pointed in a safe direction. You're going to be faster that way. You really don't want to race a gun into the holster if it's hot or really ever. So, the time it takes to do that, you could have been probably a good deal on the way to the next one. Shoot that, shoot it, then holster up. That's my PSA. I don't see a lot of reason just to, like, shoot and then just be cramming that gun in the holster real quick. Make sure that you're being safe. You are going down towards your leg. Things that happen wrong. I have been at ranges and in a class where someone was racing the gun in the holster and they shot their leg. And they didn't even know they shot their leg. I mean, that's how, if you've talked to people, that's kind of how it works sometimes. The instructor's like, hey, I think you just shot yourself. Oh, no, I didn't. It just went off. And, pull the pant leg up, and sure enough, bullet went in, didn't come out. Person, from what I heard, was fine. They actually got out of the hospital and came back to pick up their gear before the class was even over. I think they really got lucky. Don't race a gun into the holster. You can make up time so many other places besides that. So in this case, adding extra holsterings to it didn't make sense for time or for a lot of reasons. So keep that out. Just keep the gun in a safe direction. The other thing is I saw more than enough misses from people missing kind of fast. You knew it was off the clock. There was no shot timer that started. For the most part, I think I didn't see anyone just sprinting, but people weren't going slow there. Like, they weren't just walking and trying to take advantage of being off the clock. They were still moving. But you're not on the clock. Like, make your hits count. Don't just start throwing a bunch of misses, accuracy by volume. So, that's the second one. Take the time it takes to get a good hit, especially when time's irrelevant in this situation. So, they holstered up. They came down the long range. The first thing, and I will say I helped set this target up. So this was kind of a trick, but it really wasn't a big trick. Number 4 was to the far left, about 50 yards, and kind of down. It was the only target in that area. Tons of people came down, set their gear up, got immediately into their scopes, immediately into binoculars, and so many people started on 5, went to 6, 7, 8, and then when they shot 8 and realized that the RO wasn't stopping them, that, I have another target, and then had to either find 4 or they timed out getting those other ones and never had a chance to shoot 4. It was a full-size IPSC at 50 yards. That's a give-me shot. I don't care what zero you have, 36, 50, 100, 123.45 yard. It doesn't matter. With most ARs, I'm pretty confident if you hold at the center of that target with any of those zeros in a full-size IPSC, you're probably going to hit it in a shot or two. Like, you could almost get it with an unzeroed gun, just eyeballing the barrel at it at that distance. So, give me shot that some people miss because they got into their glass and everything too quick. Whiskey Hotel, I learned this from them at their DMR2 class. I would recommend it. But all their classes, but generally you want to start near to far, and you want to start right to left. We read left to right, but when we go right to left, our brain sees things differently. It's not trying to read a book, and it's going to pick up these things that are out of place easier. So if someone would have started right up, pretty close, and just started moving across, you would have seen that one. But everyone saw 5 because it was kind of obvious and it was kind of in line of where you would think, and they immediately went on to that. So good search skills, taking the time. If you would have paid attention, 1, 2, 3 were numbered, and you just started shooting 5. Something in your head should go, wait a second, everything's been kind of in order, and then I see 5, and now I see 6 a little further, and now I see 7, but I never saw 4. That would give you a thought, hey, if everything's been working its way out, maybe I need to look closer. So kind of staying on top, paying attention, and again, using good search techniques and, go out and practice that kind of thing. So that's all I'm going to say about that. The other thing is I would always use eyeballs first, then go to your magnification. Even with good binoculars, your field of view is not nearly as wide as your eyeballs. So getting a pretty quick, scanning back and forth, you could even go, look, I see one there. And there's the next one, and there's that, and there's that. And then once you get that in your head, you kind of say, okay, well, I've seen 4 of the 5 just with my naked eye. Now I'm going to go to my binoculars. That says 4. I'll start there. Now that's 5. And then, maybe 8 you can't see with your naked eye. The sign you could kind of see, But even out to 7, you could see all that pretty clearly with your naked eye, that there was a sign, there was something there. So that would be that's a really good tactic. Getting into your especially if scope's got a real narrow field of view, binoculars isn't much better. Use your eyeballs first. Take the time to get that done. All right, so next, get as stable as you need. The early shots were, you could just about shoot them offhand almost as quick as supported. So you don't need a ton of support in it. The further ones, you need more support. I saw a lot of people get way too much support and really like get anchored for those close ones because they could see them and get comfortable for it. And then they had to move around to find 7 or 8, and they got less support, or they were kind of like trying to balance off of the ladder or off the tip of something, and it's all wobbly. And they gave more respect to the close ones than they did to the far ones. Now, having said that, a good stable position for everything, as long as it's quick, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just don't make the closest shot your most stable shot if you don't need to. Now, one guy I saw, and I forget who this was a great strategy. That hedgehog, tank trap, you got like, kind of an X form, they got that. He came in, he took his ruck off, he threw his ruck right in the center of that, squatted down behind it, set his gun, and used the ruck as a support. And you had a pretty good wide pivot of the area you could shoot, and absolutely shot a ton of targets really, in a pretty quick manner because he had that really good support. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, but getting really good support and then standing up and seeing a target at 500 yards and trying to tiptoe on a ladder, or like I saw people getting on like the edge of the hedgehog and it was kind of moving around. You gotta pay attention and give it the respect that it needs to get. So don't want to go too far into that, but that's something you can practice. If you go somewhere with some long range targets, just see how comfortable and how stable you need to be. What's the reticle need to look like? What kind of wobble can you get away with? The last one, the ladder created a problem for some people. So, you got your steps on the ladder going up one side that tended to be where people wanted to rest their gun. And then on the back, you had like 3 or 4 little poles, like tubes that were support for that other side, so it's not wobbly. You set your rifle handguard on that step. The support was right in line with it. Well, now when I aimed down just a little bit, because we were kind of on the higher ground, your muzzle's pointing straight at the aluminum ladder. We didn't have anyone shoot it. We were able to stop everyone beforehand, but that was time out of their stage that they had to reposition from us saying, "Hey, don't shoot. You're going to shoot. You're going to shoot this ladder at point blank." That they would have been faster if they would have been a little more conscious of that. If you set like a forward assist on it or something else, you could get it up and miss that. But if you just set your handguard, you're pointed right at it. So height over bore, what's in front of your rifle. It's something you got to be very, very conscious of. You could do it. You can still hit on the tank trap, the same thing. Someone was on the spool even, and they had their rifle pretty low, and the spool kind of tips up, and their gun kind of tips down, aiming more downwards. And I was watching them. They didn't hit it, but they were awful close. So especially like if you have a can on there and you're going down, you may just deflect your whole barrel up. Muzzle brakes will do the same thing, but cans being a little thicker, something I've had bite me before. So pay attention to not just the target. Don't be focused so in on the target that you don't know what else is going on around you right in front of your gun. So that's a safety thing especially, but it's certainly also like if you start blasting that aluminum, that's a safety thing. That's going to start blasting back at you, and it's going to be deflecting rounds, and you're certainly not going to hit it. So keep that in mind. I hope these tips help. Like I said, I've seen this. I've done a lot of these myself. So, go out. If anything I said here kind of resonates with you, get all the stuff you could go out and practice and dry fire and live fire, and just get in the habit of doing it the most efficient way, the best way, the safest way. And when you hit it on a stage and you run into it, you won't even think twice. You'll just go look at the ladder, put your barrel on there, kind of take a look, go, oh, nope, I'm going to shoot that. I better do something different. Or I better start scanning from the front and move out to the back because I'm going to miss something if I don't. So hope to see you out at this match, and hope to see you out at the range.